Title: The Lost Trail. Prologue. Deep in the heart of the Cascades, where the trees grow so thick the sun can hardly penetrate, there lies a trail that isn't on any map. Those who have wandered too close whisper of strange occurrences, but few believe the tales. That is until you are among the unlucky few who discover it for yourself. Chapter 1. The Group. Tommy Caldwell was a seasoned wilderness guide, known for his impeccable sense of direction and vast knowledge of the wild. When a group of 5 city dwellers approached him for a weekend hiking trip in the Cascades, he had agreed without hesitation. They were seeking adventure, something raw and unfiltered, and Tommy promised to deliver. The group consisted of Carla, a corporate lawyer craving a break from her high-pressure job; Mike, an aspiring photographer with a penchant for the unusual; Susan and Greg, a couple looking to rekindle their relationship; and Jake, an amateur survivalist eager to test his skills. They met at the trailhead, a nondescript wooden sign barely visible through the overgrown foliage. Tommy, always the professional, provided a quick briefing. "Stay together, follow my lead, and don't stray off the marked paths. The forest can be unpredictable." Chapter 2. The Trail. The first day went smoothly. They hiked through lush forests and over babbling brooks, enjoying the solitude and natural beauty. Tommy pointed out different flora and fauna, sharing anecdotes about the area's history. As they made camp that night, a sudden gust of wind swept through, making the trees creak ominously. Tommy shrugged it off. "Winds can be strange up here, nothing to worry about." But as the sun set, a strange chill settled over the camp. The group huddled around the fire, trying to shake off the feeling of unease. Tommy too felt it, but he masked his concern with a reassuring smile. Chapter 3. The Forgotten Trail. On the second day, Tommy led them deeper into the forest. They came across an overgrown path, partially obscured by vines and underbrush. "This isn't on any map," Tommy said, curiosity piqued. "But I've heard tales of an old trail that leads to some fascinating spots." The group was eager for adventure and agreed to explore it. As they ventured down the forgotten trail, the trees seemed to close in and the sunlight dimmed. The path twisted and turned, becoming increasingly narrow and treacherous. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a clearing with a small, decrepit cabin. The structure was barely standing, with a roof that sagged and walls covered in moss. Tommy's instincts told him to turn back, but the group's excitement overruled his reservations. They decided to investigate the cabin. Chapter 4. The Cabin. Inside the cabin, the air was thick with dust and decay. Old furniture lay in disarray, and strange symbols were carved into the wooden walls. Mike, ever the photographer, took pictures of the eerie markings, while Carla examined an old journal she found on a dusty table. The journal was filled with frantic, handwritten notes about a dark presence in the forest, mentions of the Watchers, and warnings to never stray from the known trails. Tommy's unease grew, but he kept his concerns to himself. As night fell, the group set up camp near the cabin. The forest seemed unusually silent, and the air felt heavy with anticipation. Tommy tried to keep the group's spirits high, but he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Chapter 5. The Whispers. That night, as they sat around the fire, they began to hear faint whispers. At first, it was just the wind, but as the whispers grew louder, it became clear they were voices, muffled, indistinct, but undeniably present. Carla and Susan were the first to react, their faces pale with fear. Tommy reassured them, suggesting it was just the wind playing tricks. However, as the whispers grew more intense, the group's anxiety heightened. Tommy decided to investigate. He ventured a short distance into the woods, calling out into the darkness. The whispers seemed to follow him, growing louder and more insistent. As he turned to head back, he noticed the symbols from the cabin appearing on trees around him, glowing faintly in the dark. Chapter 6. The Pursuit. The next morning, the group found that their equipment had been tampered with, food supplies were missing, and some of their gear was scattered. Tommy's attempts to calm them only partly succeeded. He decided to head back to the main trail, hoping to get them out of the forest quickly. As they made their way back, they found themselves disoriented. The forest seemed to shift around them, and the path they had followed the day before was now obscured. The whispers returned, growing more frantic and urgent. Tommy's confidence wavered. He realized they were lost, and the forgotten trail was not just uncharted, it was a trap. The forest was closing in on them, and the whispers were now accompanied by strange, shadowy figures that darted between the trees. Chapter 7. The Truth. Desperation set in as night fell again. The group huddled together, the whispers growing louder and more aggressive. Tommy tried to use his survival skills to find a way out, but every direction seemed to lead them back to the cabin. In a moment of clarity, Tommy remembered the journal Carla had found. He asked her to read aloud from it. As she did, the symbols on the trees began to glow more intensely, and the shadows around them grew darker and more menacing. The journal revealed that the forest was cursed, bound by an ancient ritual to trap anyone who ventured too far. The Watchers were spirits of those who had become lost before, their souls bound to keep others from escaping. Chapter 8. The Final Stand. Realizing their only hope was to confront the curse, Tommy led the group back to the cabin. They performed a makeshift ritual based on the journal's instructions, using items from their gear and the symbols they had seen. As they completed the ritual, the forest seemed to react violently. The whispers turned into anguished screams, and the shadowy figures attacked. Tommy and the group fought off the spirits with all their strength, but it was clear that not all would survive. In a desperate move, Tommy sacrificed himself to complete the ritual, hoping it would free the rest of the group. The forest began to recede, and the spirits' cries faded. Epilogue. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Greg were eventually found by a search team, disoriented but alive. They'd recounted their harrowing experience, but no one believed their story completely. The forest was abandoned by the local authorities, and the cabin was left to crumble into obscurity. Tommy's sacrifice became a somber legend among the locals, a tale of bravery and a reminder of the dangers lurking in the wilderness. The lost trail remained a haunting reminder of the ancient curse that still lingered in the dark heart of the Cascades. Chapter 9. Aftermath. The days following their rescue were filled with questions and therapy sessions. The survivors struggled to explain their experience to the authorities and their families, who found their story difficult to believe. They were haunted by the memories of the forest and the figures that had chased them. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Greg each dealt with their trauma in their own ways. Carla threw herself into her work, trying to bury her fears under a mountain of legal briefs. Mike attempted to capture his ordeal through his photography, but his images were distorted and unsettling. Susan and Greg's relationship became strained, each plagued by nightmares and a growing sense of distance between them. Chapter 10. The Journal's Revelation. Months after their rescue, Carla began to research the forest's history in hopes of understanding what had happened. She returned to the cabin, now a crumbling ruin overtaken by nature. She found that the journal's entries were not just warnings but instructions for dealing with the spirits. Among the old pages, she discovered a hidden note from Tommy, written in a shaky hand. It revealed that the ritual had not only trapped the spirits, but also bound part of the curse to the forest itself. Tommy had sacrificed himself to buy them time, but he had hoped to find a way to break the curse entirely. Determined to honor his sacrifice, Carla sought help from historians and occult experts. She learned that the curse was linked to an ancient forgotten tribe who had used the forest as a sacred ground for their rituals. The tribe had vanished mysteriously, leaving behind their dark legacy. Chapter 11. The New Expedition. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Greg, despite their traumas, decided to return to the forest one last time, driven by a sense of unfinished business and a desire to free Tommy's spirit. They assembled a small team of experts and armed themselves with knowledge from the journal and the historian's advice. As they entered the forest, they followed the rituals outlined in the journal with more precision this time. The forest, though still eerie, seemed to react differently, as if it was testing their resolve. Chapter 12. Confrontation. They made their way to the center of the forest, where the curse was believed to be the strongest. The shadows and whispers grew more intense, and the air felt charged with a malevolent energy. The spirits of the lost hikers and the ancient tribe's ancestors appeared, their forms shifting between human and something more monstrous. The group performed the ritual as described, but the forest resisted fiercely. The shadows twisted and writhed, attacking with a vengeful fury. The team fought back using the ritual's elements, symbols, chants, and ancient artifacts. At the climax of the confrontation, Tommy's spirit appeared, guiding them through the final steps of the ritual. The battle was fierce, with the spirits clawing at them and the forest trying to consume them. Tommy's spectral form seemed to merge with the energy of the ritual, amplifying its power. Chapter 13. The Breaking of the Curse. With a final, intense surge of energy, the ritual reached its climax. The dark spirits let out a collective wail as the curse's hold on the forest began to shatter. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the forest's unnatural darkness receded. The lost souls were freed, and the forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The group emerged from the forest, exhausted but victorious. They had broken the curse, but the forest would forever be a part of them. They'd returned to their lives, changed by their experiences and the realization that they had faced something beyond comprehension. Epilogue, a legacy. Years later, the Cascades forest became known for its beauty and peace, a stark contrast to the tales of terror that once surrounded it. The once feared trail became a popular destination for hikers, now free from its dark history. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Greg found new paths in their lives. Carla continued her legal career, but with a newfound appreciation for the unknown. Mike's photography gained a new depth, capturing both the beauty and the shadow of the natural world. Susan and Greg worked through their challenges and found a renewed connection with each other. Tommy Caldwell's bravery and sacrifice became a legend among local hikers. His story was passed down through generations, a reminder of the forest's dark past and the courage needed to face it. The cabin was left as a historical monument, a testament to the trials faced and the courage displayed. The forest remained a place of wonder, its dark history a distant memory but never entirely forgotten. It stood as a reminder of the thin line between adventure and terror, and the enduring spirit of those who dared to confront the unknown. Chapter 14. The Haunting Echoes. Though the curse was broken, the forest left an indelible mark on its survivors. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Greg tried to reintegrate into their normal lives, but the trauma lingered. The memories of the forest haunted their dreams and occasionally seeped into their waking hours. Carla began experiencing unsettling premonitions and vivid dreams about the forest. She felt a strange compulsion to return, but each time she tried, she found herself inexplicably drawn back to the forest's edge. Mike's photographs, once a passion, became a source of dread. He captured eerie, unexplainable figures in his shots, reminiscent of the shadows they had fought against. His work, once celebrated, now drew concern and fascination in equal measure. Susan and Greg's relationship struggled as they tried to cope with their lingering fears. They sought therapy but found it difficult to discuss their experiences, which felt too surreal to articulate fully. Their relationship was tested by the unresolved trauma, creating a rift between them. Chapter 15. The Return to the Forest. Unable to ignore the pull, Carla decided to investigate further. She organized a small expedition with Mike and a few trusted experts, hoping to uncover more about the ancient tribe and the curse. They revisited the forest, which now felt eerily calm, almost as if it was waiting for their return. They found the remnants of the old cabin and the clearing where the final battle had taken place. The symbols on the trees were faded, but the oppressive sense of being watched still lingered. They discovered new markings that hinted at an even deeper layer of the curse, one that might have been only partially addressed. The team set up camp in the clearing and began to conduct their research, examining artifacts and gathering samples. As they worked, strange phenomena began to occur. Equipment malfunctioned, unexplained noises echoed through the trees, and shadows seemed to move of their own accord. Chapter 16. The Truth Unveiled. Carla's research led her to a startling revelation. The ancient tribe had practiced dark rituals to bind their spirits to the forest to protect it from external threats. The curse wasn't just a malevolent force, but a protective mechanism gone awry. The tribe had intended to keep the forest safe, but their methods had led to a cycle of suffering. In a hidden chamber beneath the cabin ruins, they found a series of murals depicting the tribe's history and their ritualistic practices. The murals revealed that the tribe had tried to summon a guardian spirit to watch over the forest, but the ritual had gone wrong, binding the spirits in torment instead. Chapter 17. Confronting the Guardian. Carla, Mike, and their team realized that to fully lift the curse, they needed to confront the guardian spirit that had become twisted and malevolent. The murals hinted at a final ritual that could appease the guardian and restore balance. They ventured deeper into the forest, following the clues from the murals. The forest grew darker and more oppressive, and the whispers returned with renewed intensity. They reached a sacred grove where the guardian was said to reside. The guardian appeared as a massive, shadowy figure, its eyes glowing with ancient anger. The team performed the final ritual, which involved offering symbolic tokens of peace and respect, as described in the murals. The ritual was a test of their sincerity and respect for the forest. Chapter 18: The Final Redemption. The ritual reached its climax as the Guardian's form began to shift. The dark shadows receded, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The Guardian, once a twisted spirit of vengeance, began to transform into a more benign presence, acknowledging their efforts to restore balance. With the curse fully lifted, the forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The trees regained their vibrant colors, and the unnatural silence was replaced by the harmonious sounds of wildlife. The shadows and whispers faded, leaving behind a sense of peace. Carla, Mike, and their team emerged from the forest, their mission complete. The forest was no longer a place of fear, but a symbol of healing and redemption. Their experience had transformed their lives, and they had come to terms with their past. Epilogue: A new beginning. Years later, the Cascades forest became a popular destination for hikers and nature enthusiasts. The tale of the cursed forest and its redemption was shared as a legend and a reminder of the importance of respect for nature and its mysteries. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Greg found new paths in their lives. Carla became an advocate for forest conservation, using her experience to raise awareness about the importance of respecting nature. Mike's photography gained a new focus, capturing the beauty and serenity of the forest. Susan and Greg, after working through their challenges, found a renewed connection and purpose in their lives. The forest, once a place of darkness and fear, became a symbol of hope and healing. The guardian spirit, now a benevolent presence, watched over the forest, ensuring that its secrets remained a source of wonder and respect. The legacy of Tommy Caldwell lived on, not just as a cautionary tale, but as a symbol of bravery and sacrifice. The forest stood as a testament to the power of redemption and the enduring spirit of those who faced the unknown. Chapter 19: Echoes of the Past. Despite the forest's transformation, the survivors continued to face the psychological impacts of their experiences. Carla's newfound advocacy work led her to explore other haunted and historically significant sites, driven by an urge to understand and document such phenomena. She began writing a book about her experiences and the lessons learned from the forest. Mike's photography evolved into a niche art form, capturing not only the beauty of nature, but also the remnants of places with dark histories. He gained recognition for his work, which was both praised for its artistic quality and critiqued for its unsettling undertones. His fame, however, brought him unwanted attention from paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike. Susan and Greg, after their turbulent years, found solace in a quieter life. They relocated to a rural area where they started a small organic farm. The peace and simplicity of their new life helped them heal and reconnect, though they still occasionally experienced fleeting shadows and whispers in the night, reminders of their past. Chapter 20: The Uninvited. As Carla's book neared publication, she was invited to speak at various conferences about her experiences and the forest's history. During one such conference, she was approached by a shadowy figure who seemed to know an unsettling amount about her personal experiences. The figure introduced himself as Edward Harlow, a researcher into occult and paranormal phenomena. He claimed that while the curse had been lifted, traces of its dark influence still lingered, and that the forest had a resonance that could be disturbed if not treated carefully. Edward's warnings were unsettling but intriguing. He suggested that there might be other forces or artifacts linked to the original curse, and that the forest's influence could have broader implications. Carla, though skeptical, agreed to work with Edward to further investigate these claims. Chapter 21: The Hidden Threat. Carla and Edward returned to the Cascades forest, this time with a more extensive team of experts in occult studies and forest ecology. They embarked on a thorough investigation, examining old records, surveying the land, and conducting energy readings. They discovered that the forest's energy fields were indeed irregular. Certain areas showed signs of lingering dark influence, and some of the ancient symbols were still faintly visible on trees and rocks, hinting at unresolved aspects of the curse. The team also found an underground chamber that had been previously overlooked. This chamber contained ancient relics and more detailed records of the tribe's rituals. Among these was a dark artifact, an amulet said to hold the essence of the tribe's most powerful rituals. Chapter 22. The Resurgence. As they delved deeper, the forest seemed to react to their presence. Strange occurrences began: equipment failures, unexplained cold spots, and even glimpses of shadowy figures. The team faced increasingly hostile forces as they uncovered the artifact. Edward hypothesized that the artifact had a residual effect, capable of influencing the forest and potentially reawakening the curse if mishandled. The group decided to secure the artifact and perform a new ritual to neutralize its dark power. Chapter 23. The Ritual of Binding. The team set up a ceremonial site in the heart of the forest, guided by the instructions from the ancient records. The ritual required not only precise actions, but also a deep understanding of the tribal law and respect for the forest's spirit. As they began the ritual, the forest responded violently. The dark forces attempted to sabotage their efforts, manifesting as aggressive entities and creating physical disruptions. The team fought to maintain their focus, using protective symbols and chants to shield themselves. In a climactic confrontation, Carla faced the entity linked to the artifact. It was a spectral figure, bound by ancient rage and sorrow. The ritual's intensity reached its peak as Carla and Edward chanted the final incantations, channeling the forest's energy to contain and neutralize the entity. Chapter 24. The Aftermath. With the ritual completed, the forest's energy returned to a stable state. The dark influences were significantly diminished, and the artifact was safely sealed away, its power neutralized. The forest began to show signs of true healing, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted permanently. Carla, Edward, and the team left the forest with a sense of accomplishment. The experience had been grueling, but it had provided closure to the lingering threats and deepened their understanding of the forest's mysteries. Carla's book was published, detailing not only her experiences, but also the comprehensive research conducted with Edward. It became a bestseller among both paranormal enthusiasts and academic circles, bridging the gap between folklore and scientific inquiry. Mike continued his work with renewed purpose, focusing on capturing the beauty of landscapes free from dark influence. His art became a symbol of resilience and redemption. Susan and Greg's life on the farm flourished, and they found new ways to incorporate their experiences into their community outreach, teaching others about the importance of respecting nature. Epilogue: A Legacy of Learning. Years later, the Cascades forest became a renowned example of ecological and historical preservation. The story of the curse and its resolution was used as a case study in both academic and paranormal circles, illustrating the power of understanding and respect in dealing with supernatural phenomena. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Gray continued their respective paths, each having found a measure of peace and purpose. The forest remained a place of wonder and reflection, its dark past a distant memory, but a vital part of its history. The tale of the Cascades forest and its curse became a testament to human resilience and the enduring spirit of those who dared to confront the unknown. The forest stood as a living reminder of the delicate balance between mystery and knowledge, adventure and caution. Chapter 25. The Hidden Manuscript. Months after the ritual's success, Carla received an anonymous package containing an old manuscript. The manuscript was written in an ancient script that resembled the symbols they had encountered in the forest. Its pages detailed a forgotten history of the forest and its connection to a secret society that once worshipped the guardian spirit. Intrigued, Carla reached out to Edward for help translating and interpreting the manuscript. The text hinted at a larger network of such sites around the world, each with its own dark history and rituals. This new information suggested that the Cascades forest was not an isolated case, but part of a global pattern of hidden supernatural phenomena. Chapter 26. The Global Network. Carla and Edward embarked on a new investigation, traveling to other locations mentioned in the manuscript. Each site revealed similar patterns of dark rituals and powerful artifacts, deepening their understanding of the ancient society's influence. Their journey took them to ancient ruins in Europe, remote temples in Asia, and hidden locations in the Americas. They discovered that the society had spread its dark influence globally, with each site holding pieces of a larger puzzle. As they connected the dots, they'd realized that the artifacts and rituals were designed to control or contain ancient spirits, some of which had become malevolent over time. The global network of sites was a web of power and control, with the potential to impact the world in profound ways. Chapter 27. The Rising Threat. Back in the Cascades forest, strange occurrences began to resurface. The artifacts they had secured were showing signs of disturbance, and the peaceful aura of the forest was becoming tainted by unexplained phenomena. Carla and Edward returned to the forest, only to find that the dark influence was not entirely gone. The disturbance suggested that the global network of sites was somehow interconnected, and the disturbance at one site could affect others. They discovered that a faction of the secret society, which had remained hidden, was trying to reclaim the artifacts and restore the power of the ancient rituals. This faction sought to harness the energy of the artifacts to create a new order, using the global network to spread their influence. Chapter 28. The New Alliance. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Carla and Edward reached out to other experts they had encountered during their global investigations. They'd formed an alliance with scholars, historians, and paranormal researchers from around the world to combat the rising threat. The alliance coordinated efforts to protect the remaining sites and neutralize the dark influences. They developed strategies to counteract the society's attempts to reclaim the artifacts and disrupt the global network. The team's efforts involved conducting rituals, reinforcing protective barriers, and uncovering additional hidden sites that might be at risk. The alliance worked tirelessly to prevent the faction from achieving their goals and unleashing chaos. Chapter 29. The Final Confrontation. The climax of the conflict came when the faction attempted to perform a grand ritual at a major site, intending to harness the power of all the artifacts simultaneously. Carla, Edward, and their allies raced against time to stop the ritual and prevent a global catastrophe. The final confrontation took place at an ancient temple hidden deep in the mountains. The team faced formidable challenges, including traps set by the faction and the awakened spirits that guarded the site. The battle was intense, with supernatural forces clashing as the ritual reached its peak. Carla and Edward led a daring operation to disrupt the ritual, using the knowledge they had gained from the manuscript and their previous experiences. The team's combined efforts ultimately succeeded in thwarting the faction's plans, sealing the artifacts and neutralizing the dark influence. Chapter 30. A New Era. With the threat averted, Carla and her allies worked to establish a global network for the protection and study of supernatural sites. They created a foundation dedicated to preserving the knowledge and ensuring that such artifacts were secured and respected. The foundation focused on education, research, and collaboration, working with local communities and experts to protect and understand the world's hidden supernatural phenomena. The work was both a continuation of Carla's advocacy and a new mission to safeguard the global legacy of the ancient society. Carla, Mike, Susan, and Greg continued their lives with renewed purpose. Carla's book became a cornerstone of the Foundation's educational efforts, and Mike's photography captured the beauty of the world's hidden wonders. Susan and Greg, now involved in the Foundation's outreach programs, used their experience to help others understand and respect the natural and supernatural world. Epilogue. The Legacy of the Cascades. The Cascades Forest, once a place of darkness and fear, became a symbol of resilience and hope. The forest's transformation into a protected site highlighted the importance of understanding and respecting the unknown. The tale of the Cascades Forest and the global network of supernatural sites became a legacy of human courage and the quest for knowledge. It served as a reminder of the delicate balance between mystery and understanding, adventure and caution. The forest stood as a living testament to the enduring spirit of those who faced the unknown and worked to preserve the world's hidden wonders for future generations. Chapter 31. The Enigmatic Benefactor. As the Foundation's influence grew, Carla received a series of cryptic messages from an enigmatic benefactor who seemed to have an intimate knowledge of both the ancient society and the artifacts they had secured. The messages contained clues about other hidden sites and potential threats that had not yet been discovered. The benefactor, known only as the Watcher, claimed to be an expert in the history of the society and offered guidance on how to deal with emerging dangers. While Carla was initially skeptical, the details provided in the messages proved accurate, leading her to believe that the Watcher was a valuable ally, albeit a mysterious one. Carla and Edward worked with the Watcher to investigate new leads, uncovering hidden sites and artifacts that had been previously unknown. These discoveries revealed more about the Society's global network and their attempts to manipulate supernatural forces for their own gain. Chapter 32: The Unseen Enemy. As they delved deeper, it became clear that the faction they had previously thwarted was not the only threat. A more insidious group, known as the Shadow Syndicate, operated behind the scenes, working to exploit the residual dark energies and manipulate global events for their advantage. The Shadow Syndicate had infiltrated various institutions and used that influence to further their goals. Carla, Edward, and their allies found themselves facing a complex web of political, economic, and supernatural challenges. They needed to navigate this treacherous landscape while protecting the artifacts and sites from falling into the wrong hands. The Watcher provided crucial intelligence on the Syndicate's activities, but their true identity and motives remained shrouded in secrecy. The team had to rely on their expertise and intuition to uncover the Syndicate's plans and counteract their efforts. Chapter 33: The Hidden Alliance. In response to the growing threat, Carla and Edward reached out to other secret societies and groups with knowledge of the supernatural. They formed an alliance with these groups, creating a network of experts dedicated to protecting the world from hidden threats. This new alliance, known as the Concord of the Veil, worked to secure sites, share intelligence, and counteract the Syndicate's influence. They conducted joint operations, combining their knowledge and resources to address global threats and maintain balance between the known and unknown. The Concord's efforts led to several significant breakthroughs, including the discovery of additional artifacts and sites that had been hidden or forgotten. Their work also revealed more about the history of the ancient society and the true extent of its influence. Chapter 34: The Grand Convergence. As the threat from the Shadow Syndicate escalated, Carla and Edward uncovered a plot to harness the power of multiple artifacts to create a Grand Convergence, a ritual that would allow the Syndicate to control global events through supernatural means. The Syndicate planned to perform this ritual at a site of immense power, a hidden temple believed to be the focal point of the ancient society's influence. Carla and her allies had to prevent the ritual from being completed, as its success would result in catastrophic consequences. The final confrontation took place at the temple, where the Syndicate had gathered their forces and artifacts. The battle was intense, involving both supernatural entities and human adversaries. The team faced numerous challenges, including defending against dark forces and overcoming the Syndicate's attempts to complete the ritual. Chapter 35: The Climax of Power. The Grand Convergence ritual reached its climax as the Syndicate's forces attempted to channel the artifact's energies. Carla, Edward, and their allies worked to disrupt the ritual, using their knowledge of the artifacts and the Concord's resources to counteract the Syndicate's efforts. The confrontation was a battle of wits and strength, with the team facing powerful supernatural entities and intricate traps set by the Syndicate. As the ritual approached its final phase, the team managed to destabilize the convergence, causing the artifact's energies to dissipate and preventing the Syndicate from achieving their goal. Chapter 36: The Aftermath and Rebirth. With the Grand Convergence thwarted, the Shadow Syndicate was dismantled, and its remaining members were apprehended or went into hiding. The global network of supernatural sites was secured and protected by the Concord of the Veil, ensuring that the artifacts and knowledge remained safe. Carla and Edward continued their work with the Foundation and the Concord, focusing on educating the public about the importance of understanding and respecting the supernatural. Their experiences had deepened their knowledge and strengthened their resolve to protect the world from hidden threats. The Cascades Forest, now a symbol of hope and resilience, became a place of pilgrimage for those interested in the history of the ancient society and the global network. The forest's transformation from a place of darkness to one of peace served as a powerful reminder of the enduring spirit of those who faced the unknown. Epilogue: Legacy of the Concord. Years later, Carla's book and the work of the Concord of the Veil continue to influence and inspire those interested in the supernatural and historical mysteries. The legacy of the Cascades forest and the global network of sites became an integral part of global heritage, emphasizing the need for vigilance and respect for the unknown. The Concord's work expanded to include new generations of researchers and adventurers, ensuring that the lessons learned from the past would guide future efforts to protect and understand the world's hidden wonders. The tale of the Cascades forest and its impact on global events remained a testament to human courage, wisdom, and the quest for knowledge. Chapter 37. The Legacy of the Watcher. Carla and Edward continued their roles within the Concord of the Vale, but the mysterious benefactor known as the Watcher remained an enigma. Despite their best efforts, they could not uncover the Watcher's true identity or their full agenda. The Watcher's guidance had been invaluable, but their motives remained shrouded in secrecy. One day, Carla received a new message from the Watcher, hinting at a hidden agenda within the Concord itself. The message suggested that there were factions within the organization that had their own interests and might not fully align with the Concord's mission. Intrigued and concerned, Carla and Edward began to investigate these internal factions, uncovering tensions and conflicting agendas among the members. They'd found that some factions had more radical views on how to handle supernatural threats, and there were whispers of a hidden agenda to control the artifacts for personal gain. Chapter 38. The Rift Within. As the internal tensions within the Concord grew, a major rift developed between Carla and other key members of the organization. Some members wanted to use the artifacts for their own ends, believing that they could harness their power to bring about a new world order. Carla and Edward found themselves at odds with these factions, struggling to maintain the integrity of the Concord's mission while facing increasing opposition. The organization's unity was tested as members began to question their leadership and the direction of their efforts. Amidst this turmoil, the Watcher continued to provide cryptic advice, guiding Carla and Edward through the political and supernatural complexities of the situation. The Watcher's messages suggested that there was a deeper conspiracy at play, one that threatened not only the Concord, but also the stability of the global network. Chapter 39. The Hidden Prophecy. During their investigation, Carla and Edward discovered an ancient prophecy related to the artifacts and the supernatural network. The prophecy spoke of a coming era of darkness, where the balance between the natural and supernatural worlds would be severely tested. The prophecy also mentioned a chosen few who would have the power to restore balance or bring about destruction. Carla and Edward realized that the internal rift within the Concord could be a critical factor in whether the prophecy's dark predictions came true. They delved into the historical records and consulted with experts to understand the full implications of the prophecy. They discovered that the prophecy had been linked to the ancient society's original intentions, and it hinted at a final decisive event that would determine the fate of the artifacts and the supernatural world. Chapter 40. The Final Revelation. The prophecy's final revelation pointed to a hidden site, an ancient temple buried deep underground, where the last of the powerful artifacts was said to be located. This site was rumored to hold the key to either resolving or exacerbating the current crisis. Carla and Edward, along with a trusted group of Concord members, embarked on a perilous journey to locate and secure this hidden site. The journey took them through treacherous landscapes, ancient traps, and supernatural challenges, testing their resolve and unity. Upon reaching the site, they discovered that the ancient temple was guarded by powerful entities, remnants of the original society's defenses. The final artifact was a source of immense power, capable of influencing the balance between the natural and supernatural realms. Chapter 41. The Confrontation. The arrival at the hidden site coincided with a major confrontation within the Concord. The factions opposed to Carla and Edward's approach attempted to seize control of the artifact, believing that it was their chance to shape the world according to their vision. A dramatic clash ensued between Carla's group and the rival factions, both within the temple and in the surrounding areas. The battle involved not only physical combat, but also spiritual and supernatural forces, as the temple's defenses activated to protect the artifact. Carla and Edward fought to prevent the rival factions from harnessing the artifact's power, while also dealing with the supernatural entities that emerged in response to the artifact's disturbance. The conflict reached a critical point as the artifact's energy surged, threatening to disrupt the balance between the worlds. Chapter 42. The Restoration. In the climax of the confrontation, Carla and Edward managed to prevent the rival factions from achieving their goals. They performed a ritual to restore balance, using their knowledge of the prophecy and the artifact to stabilize the energy and protect the site. The restoration of balance required a personal sacrifice from Carla and Edward, who channeled their own energy and willpower to stabilize the artifact. Their actions helped to prevent the prophecy's dark predictions from coming true and ensured the safety of the global network. The artifact was secured and sealed, its power contained to prevent future misuse. The hidden site was protected and became a symbol of the Concord's renewed commitment to safeguarding the supernatural world. Chapter 43. The Rebirth of the Concord. With the immediate threat addressed, the Concord of the Veil underwent a significant transformation. The internal factions were restructured, and new leadership was established to ensure that the organization remained focused on its mission of protection and understanding. Carla and Edward took on new roles within the Concord, focusing on rebuilding trust and strengthening the organization's global network. Their experiences had deepened their understanding of the supernatural and the importance of maintaining balance and integrity. The Foundation's work expanded to include new research and education initiatives aimed at raising awareness about the supernatural and the importance of respecting the unknown. Carla's book became a key resource, and the Concord's efforts were celebrated for their contributions to global heritage and knowledge. Epilogue. A Legacy of Vigilance. Years later, the Concord of the Veil continued its mission with a renewed sense of purpose and unity. The global network of supernatural sites was protected, and the artifacts remained secure, their power respected and managed with care. Carla, Edward, and their allies looked back on their journey with a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. Their efforts had preserved the balance between the natural and supernatural worlds and ensured that future generations could learn from their experiences. The Cascades forest, once a place of darkness and fear, became a symbol of resilience and hope. It stood as a testament to the enduring spirit of those who faced the unknown and worked to protect the world's hidden wonders. The legacy of the Concord and the forest's transformation served as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, respect, and understanding in the face of the unknown. The tale of the Cascades forest and its impact on global events remained an inspiring example of human courage and the quest for knowledge. Chapter 44. Shadows of the Past. Even as the Concord of the Veil stabilized and grew stronger, the past continued to cast long shadows. Some members of the rival factions, now scattered and disillusioned, harbored grudges and sought revenge against those who thwarted their plans. One of these individuals, a former high-ranking member of the rival faction named Lena Voss, began orchestrating a covert campaign to undermine the Concord. Lena, driven by a mix of anger and ambition, started recruiting disillusioned individuals and leveraging dark knowledge to create a network of spies and saboteurs. Lena's actions began to disrupt the Concord's operations, leading to mysterious breaches of security and unexplained supernatural disturbances. Carla and Edward faced new challenges as they worked to uncover and neutralize this hidden threat. Chapter 45. The Fragmented Artifacts. In addition to the external threats, a troubling discovery was made. Some of the artifacts previously secured by the Concord were showing signs of fragmentation. This phenomenon suggested that the artifacts were being tampered with or that their containment was weakening. The Concord's research team, led by Carla and Edward, investigated the cause of the fragmentation. They'd found evidence that Lena and her allies were using dark rituals to weaken the artifact's power, aiming to retrieve and harness their fragmented energies for their own purposes. The team needed to act quickly to repair the artifacts and prevent them from falling into Lena's hands. They developed new containment methods and performed rituals to stabilize the artifacts, all while contending with Lena's attempts to sabotage their efforts. Chapter 46. The Lost Civilization. During their investigations, Carla and Edward stumbled upon a hidden chamber in the Cascades forest that had remained undiscovered until now. This chamber contained artifacts and texts related to a lost civilization that had once lived in harmony with the supernatural forces. The texts revealed that this civilization had developed advanced methods for managing supernatural energies and maintaining balance. They had created a sophisticated system of rituals and protections that were intended to prevent the very kind of crisis the Concord now faced. Carla and Edward realized that understanding this lost civilization's methods could be key to resolving the current challenges. They began to study the texts and artifacts, uncovering ancient techniques that could potentially be applied to stabilize the artifacts and counteract Lena's influence. Chapter 47. The Prophecy's Return. The ancient prophecy that had once guided their actions reappeared in a new form. A series of enigmatic symbols began to appear around the world, corresponding to the locations of the remaining hidden sites and artifacts. The Concord's researchers decoded the symbols and found that they were related to a new prophecy, one that predicted a time of upheaval and transformation. This prophecy suggested that the balance between the natural and supernatural realms would be tested in unprecedented ways. The team realized that the new prophecy might be connected to Lena's efforts and the fragmentation of the artifacts. They needed to interpret the prophecy's warnings and prepare for the challenges it foretold. Chapter 48. The Rising Tide. As Lena's campaign against the Concord intensified, she managed to gain control over a group of rogue supernatural entities. These entities, once guardians of the hidden sites, were now manipulated into acting against the Concord's interests. Carla and Edward led a series of counter-operations to protect key sites and neutralize the rogue entities. They worked with their global network to reinforce protections and counter Lena's influence, but the situation became increasingly complex as Lena's network grew. The rising tide of supernatural disturbances began to affect the natural world as well, causing environmental anomalies and imbalances. The Concord's mission expanded to address these ecological impacts, striving to restore harmony between the natural and supernatural realms. Chapter 49. The Alliance Fractures. The pressure of the ongoing conflict began to strain relationships within the Concord. Some members, frustrated by the prolonged struggle and internal divisions, questioned the organization's effectiveness and leadership. Carla and Edward faced the challenge of maintaining unity and morale within the Concord. They held meetings with key members and sought to address grievances, working to rebuild trust and reinforce the organization's commitment to its mission. They also reached out to external allies and former members of rival factions who had shown signs of remorse, seeking to mend fences and build a broader coalition against Lena and her forces. Chapter 50. The Final Confrontation. The conflict reached its climax when Lena launched a coordinated attack on multiple key sites, aiming to gather enough fragmented artifact power to perform a grand ritual that would reshape the balance between the natural and supernatural worlds. Carla, Edward, and their allies undertook a daring mission to confront Lena and her forces at a central location, where the final showdown would determine the fate of the artifacts and the stability of the global network. The battle was fierce, involving a combination of physical combat, strategic maneuvers, and intense supernatural clashes. Lena's manipulation of rogue entities and her dark rituals created formidable challenges, but Carla and Edward's preparation and determination proved crucial in the fight. In a dramatic confrontation, Carla and Edward managed to thwart Lena's plans, using the knowledge they had gained from the lost civilization's texts and the new prophecy. They performed a final ritual to restore balance and stabilize the artifacts, ensuring that Lena's ambitions were thwarted. Chapter 51. The Dawn of a New Era. With Lena's defeat, the Concord of the Vale began to rebuild and adapt to the new era. The internal divisions were healed, and the organization emerged stronger and more unified. The experience had reinforced the importance of cooperation and vigilance in managing supernatural threats. Carla and Edward continued their leadership roles, focusing on implementing the advanced techniques they had learned from the lost civilization. They also worked to strengthen global alliances and expand the Concord's educational and research initiatives. The Cascades Forest and other protected sites became symbols of a new era of understanding and respect for the supernatural world. The Concord's efforts were celebrated for their contributions to global heritage and the preservation of balance. Epilogue. The Enduring Legacy. Years later, the story of Carla, Edward, and the Concord of the Veil continue to inspire new generations of researchers, adventurers, and protectors of the supernatural world. The global network of sites and artifacts remained secure, and the lessons learned from their experiences served as a guide for future endeavors. The Cascades Forest, once a place of darkness and fear, stood as a beacon of hope and resilience. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of those who faced the unknown and worked to protect the world's hidden wonders. The legacy of the Concord and the story of the artifacts became a lasting reminder of the delicate balance between the natural and supernatural realms and the importance of vigilance, understanding, and cooperation in the face of the unknown. Chapter 52. Echoes of the Past. As the Concord of the Veil continued its work, Carla and Edward began to notice strange occurrences tied to the artifacts they had secured. Echoes of the past, manifestations of historical events and figures, began to appear around the world. These echoes were not mere apparitions but interactive phenomena that seemed to communicate messages or warnings. Carla and Edward investigated these phenomena, discovering that they were linked to unresolved issues from the ancient society's history and the lost civilization. The echoes provided clues about hidden aspects of the artifact's powers and additional sites that needed attention. Carla and Edward realized that addressing these echoes could reveal more about the origins of the supernatural disturbances and help prevent future crises. Chapter 53. The Revival of the Cult. Unbeknownst to the Concord, a secretive cult had been quietly studying the remnants of the ancient society's rituals. This cult, known as the Keepers of the Veil, sought to revive the dark practices and harness the artifact's power for their own ends. The Keepers began to infiltrate academic institutions and paranormal research organizations, spreading misinformation and creating confusion about the artifacts and their true nature. Their goal was to destabilize the Concord's efforts and gain control over the artifacts. Carla and Edward uncovered the cult's activities through a series of leaks and insider information. They needed to counteract the cult's influence while also addressing the echoes and continuing their mission to protect the supernatural sites. Chapter 54. The Lost Journal. During their investigation, Carla discovered a lost journal belonging to one of the ancient society's key figures. The journal contained detailed accounts of rituals, artifacts, and the society's internal struggles. It also included references to a powerful artifact known as the Heart of the Veil, which was believed to be the source of the ancient society's power. The Heart of the Veil was rumored to have the ability to influence the fabric of reality itself. Carla and Edward realized that finding and securing this artifact was crucial to maintaining balance and preventing further conflicts. They embarked on a quest to locate the Heart of the Veil, following the clues in the journal and exploring forgotten sites. Their search led them to hidden locations and ancient ruins where they encountered formidable challenges and adversaries. Chapter 55. The Rising Tides. The Keepers of the Veil escalated their efforts, initiating a series of coordinated attacks on the Concord's facilities and key sites. They aimed to disrupt the Concord's operations and create chaos, hoping to capitalize on the resulting confusion. As the attacks intensified, Carla and Edward had to lead defensive operations, fortify their defenses, and protect the artifacts. They also worked to uncover the cult's plans and counter their strategies. The rising tides of conflict affected not only the Concord, but also the broader supernatural and natural worlds. Unexplained phenomena and disturbances became more frequent, impacting communities and ecosystems. The Concord's mission expanded to address these broader effects and restore stability. Chapter 56. The Betrayal. Amidst the chaos, Carla discovered that a trusted member of the Concord had been working with the Keepers of the Veil. This betrayal had provided the cult with inside information and access to the Concord's operations. The betrayal created a sense of mistrust and urgency within the Concord. Carla and Edward worked to identify and address the breach, while also dealing with the fallout of the betrayal. They had to rebuild trust among their members and ensure that the remaining operatives remained focused on their mission. Chapter 57. The Heart of the Veil. Carla and Edward's quest for the Heart of the Veil reached a critical point when they finally located the artifact. It was hidden within an ancient temple, protected by powerful supernatural defenses and intricate traps. The final challenge involved a series of trials designed to test the worthiness of those seeking the artifact. Carla and Edward had to use their knowledge, skills, and teamwork to overcome these trials and reach the heart of the Veil. Upon retrieving the artifact, they discovered that it had the ability to restore balance and heal the rifts created by the recent conflicts. However, it also required careful handling to avoid misuse and further destabilization. Chapter 58: The Great Convergence. With the heart of the Veil in their possession, Carla and Edward faced the challenge of performing a grand ritual to restore balance and neutralize the effects of the ongoing disturbances. The ritual required precise coordination and the cooperation of the Concord's members and allies. The ritual was a complex process that involved aligning the artifact's energies with the natural and supernatural forces. Carla and Edward worked closely with their team, performing the ritual and addressing unexpected complications. The Great Convergence was successful in stabilizing the supernatural balance and healing the rifts. The heart of the Veil was carefully secured, and its power was managed to ensure that it could not be misused. Chapter 59: The New Dawn. In the aftermath of the Great Convergence, the Concord of the Veil entered a new era of stability and cooperation. The organization strengthened its global network, expanded its research and education initiatives, and continued to protect the supernatural sites. Carla and Edward took on new roles as mentors and leaders, guiding the next generation of researchers and protectors. Their experiences had deepened their understanding of the supernatural world and the importance of vigilance and collaboration. The Cascades forest and other protected sites became symbols of resilience and hope, representing the balance achieved through dedication and courage. The story of Carla and Edward's journey continued to inspire new generations to respect and protect the hidden wonders of the world. Epilogue: The legacy lives on. Years later, the Concord of the Veil's work remained a testament to the enduring spirit of those who faced the unknown and worked to protect the global balance. The legacy of Carla, Edward, and their allies lived on through their contributions to global heritage and the preservation of the supernatural world. The echoes of the past, the lessons learned, and the ongoing vigilance ensured that future generations would continue to honor and protect the delicate balance between the natural and supernatural realms. The story of the heart of the Veil and the Great Convergence became a lasting reminder of the importance of understanding, respect, and cooperation in the face of the unknown. Chapter 60: The Emergence of the Forgotten. In the wake of the Great Convergence, the Concord of the Veil faced an unexpected development, the reawakening of forgotten supernatural entities that had been dormant for centuries. These beings, once sealed away by the ancient society, began to stir, sensing the shifts in the supernatural balance. Carla and Edward, now seasoned leaders within the Concord, took on the task of investigating these entities. They discovered that the Great Convergence had inadvertently disturbed the seals that held these beings in check. Some of these entities were benign but curious, while others were malevolent and sought to exploit the newfound instability. The Concord's focus expanded to include these entities, requiring them to develop new strategies and containment methods to address the emerging threats. They established a specialized team to manage and study these beings, ensuring that they could coexist peacefully or be contained if necessary. Chapter 61: The Echoing Voices. The echoes of the past, which had once been mere manifestations, began to take on a more profound significance. They started to convey messages that were not only historical, but also prophetic in nature. The voices from these echoes hinted at future events and potential threats, offering glimpses into the supernatural realm's evolving dynamics. Carla and Edward worked with the Concord scholars to interpret these messages, discovering that they foretold a series of challenges that would test the organization's resolve. The echoes also hinted at a deeper connection between the ancient society, the lost civilization, and the current threats. The team used these prophetic insights to prepare for upcoming challenges and to strategize their approach to maintaining balance in the supernatural world. They also sought to ensure that the echoes' messages were understood and acted upon to prevent future crises. Chapter 62: The Rift in Leadership. Despite the successes of the Concord, internal tensions resurfaced. The organization's leadership faced a rift between traditionalists who preferred established methods and reformists who advocated for new approaches. This divide led to debates over the future direction of the Concord and how best to handle the emerging supernatural entities. Carla and Edward navigated this internal conflict, striving to find a balance between innovation and tradition. They organized discussions and workshops to address the concerns of both sides, aiming to unify the Concord's efforts and ensure that their mission remained focused and effective. The rift also highlighted the need for improved communication and collaboration within the Concord. Carla and Edward worked to foster a more inclusive and transparent environment, encouraging members to share their perspectives and work together toward common goals.